county's NUT secretary says they don't present a true picture of what a school can offer and have suspicions about how useful they are. It comes as the National Union of Teachers are voicing concerns about the new English baccalaureate system as well, which some schools are adopting. And with us to talk more is Margaret Morrissey, who's the founder of lobby group Parents Out Loud. Margaret, good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
And school league tables,
well,
useful?
It's one of the few things I probably agree with the NUT on at the moment. And this country's in danger of producing a system of schooling that is not allowing children to think for themselves. School league tables were introduced in 1992, and I remember at the time when I was working for another parent group producing a press release saying our children are not footballers, they're children, and it's wrong to put them into league tables. Nothing's improved since then. We now have schools that have completely changed their teaching methods, and instead of a rounded education, they are teaching to tests. And this is really not doing the children any favours, because, as I said at the beginning, they are taught to take exams, pass tests, and when it comes to having the piece of paper in front of them and they've got to think outside the box, the ability is not always there. From
a parent's point of view, let's say you've moved to a new area, or you're thinking about moving to a new area, and you perhaps can't sort of visit all the schools, for example, if you're moving a long distance. There's an argument surely for saying there has to be something which can offer parents at least a guide.
There is, and this, of course, is where government have won hands down over league tables, because, you know, it's inevitable. You're going to look at a school that's got good league table results, and you're going to automatically think, oh, that's a good school, that's a great school. We're not going to go to the one that's really not appearing to succeed. But what I would say to parents is, obviously you're going to use the league tables. What they actually do is they give government an opportunity and a piece of paper that allows them to thump schools and to say, you know, this is what you've got to do, this is how you've got to do it. It reduces the curriculum, so they really need to go to the school, to take some time, go early in the morning when the kids are arriving, talk to the parents at the gate, because in primary schools there are always parents at the gate and they'll always be very happy to talk to you. And really look into it, because many of the schools that are not going to be flying up at the top of the top 10 in every newspaper this week are the schools that work the hardest with children, who achieve the best results, because those children have taken a lot more effort and time to get to the results where they are. And, you know, some of them do not comply to this thing. They've got to do the league tables, they've got to put in the SATs results, but they still carry on and teach as they used to do, and you will find that that's the school where your child will be happiest, where it will become the most rounded person. It'll learn about everything else as well as maths and English and science, and, you know, is going to be a good person at the end of it. So talk to the head, talk to the teachers, try and talk to other parents, and make your own judgment. Do not be fooled by pieces of paper which give government the opportunity to say, we told you so, fantastic school, we're going to really do everything we can to damn you, school, because you were at the bottom. It is useless and ridiculous.
Have you ever met a teacher, I'm really interested to know, who's been grateful that school league tables exist?
Never.
What do they do for teachers?
They really...
Because if they were really, really awful, then they wouldn't exist, because they'd be too worried about affecting the teachers, surely.
Oh, no, government wouldn't bother about a thing like that. My goodness me. Government have got this thing like there's bad teachers and there's good teachers. And, you know, there may be some teachers who are not as good as they ought to be. But every head teacher worth their salt knows those teachers and mostly takes them into hand. Where it fails is where the school management fails. But, you know, no, I've never found a teacher who likes league tables, because they know that they're so prescriptive, and they know that they can't enthuse about something in lesson because they've got to get on and get to the end of that piece of work. We always had tests in schools. We always knew where our schools were. Every local authority had tests. I don't need to know how good 6 schools are in London. I'm in Dorset. I need to know the Dorset system, how the Dorset schools are achieving, what their criteria is, and, you know, the schools in my local area. I really don't, I'm not really interested. You know, and this morning I hear on the Today programme, perhaps the London schools have got something to teach the rest of the schools in this country. Well, I tell you, I've inspected about 50 London schools, and they have nothing to teach the schools in Dorset, Hampshire or Wiltshire. They are really not even on a par with them. The very highest ones, where they are sort of semi-private, may be doing well, but on the whole, I think we are very, very lucky to be where we are.
Interesting, isn't it, Margaret, that sort of it's coming in from criticism from the NUT in Dorset, as it is, I'm sure, across the country.
Yes,
but here in Dorset, I'm guessing we're faring pretty well in the league tables. Schools overall in Dorset seen as doing very well.
I mean, we are. We are very, very lucky, and I know a lot of people who have moved from London to put their children into secondary schools, particularly in Dorset. But that's nothing to do with the league tables. We had really good schools in Dorset, probably even better before we had league tables. And this is the great myth. I mean, you know, 1992 doesn't sound quite a long way away, but actually it's sort of a generation of parents away, and they have known nothing else. But you know what we are doing now, and you know, I'm just an old fuddy-duddy. I've got 2 kids, I've got 7 grandchildren. And although I'm considered cool and their granddad's not, I'm still a bit ancient. But, you know, I just sort of feel very sad because, and I suppose the Victorians felt sad when things changed in their time, but children don't have the freedom and the childhood that we had. And a lot of their childhood is better, but the school bit and the time out of school bit is certainly not the quality that the generation before my children had. The school is now busy all day from 9 till 4, 9 till 3:30. Some of the children go there at 8 o'clock in the morning. They stay there till 6 o'clock at night. They then get home and they've got masses of homework. They have got clubs every night. You know, I can't even see one of my granddaughters on a Saturday because she's so busy with different clubs. You know, there is no time for them to breathe and be children. And there's no time for them to do things that other children did, because one of the things that league tables brought along is everybody who has retired in education or wants to retire has written a book on how to succeed in SATs, or how to get your child writing early, how to get your child reading early. If you go into Smith's or any other bookshop, you'll see a whole section devoted to books on how to teach your child. So what we're doing is we're indoctrinating parents into becoming another school day when they get home at night and on a Saturday and Sunday.
I mean, this comes as the Times, you know, a national newspaper, running a supplement at the moment called How to Sort of Effectively Educate Your Child at Home. And in addition, pressure on parents that, you know, welcome advice, or something they could do without, do you think?
I don't think we need it. You know, I think we've managed before and we'll manage again. And actually, you know, I don't think that we are now producing the quality of final education for children that we did before. I mean, I know that we've got a problem with jobs and that, but we have probably, intentionally or not, taught every child that they can become a chief. We've forgotten to tell them that every chief needs a whole band of Indians underneath them. And the country's not going to work. We used to have careers departments in schools where, you know, you were taught that if you weren't going to be a doctor or a brain surgeon or the head of some massive company, there was an equally and worthwhile and extremely important job or career. Everybody has to have a career. Nobody needs a job anymore.
So it's setting the bar too high.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, in some cases, it's going to spoil children's lives because, you know, in my 7 grandchildren, 1 or 2 of them appear at a very early age to be quite clever. But 1 or 2 of them aren't. And probably the one that's probably not the furthest advanced in education is the loveliest, kindest child that Of course I'm biased, but, do you know what I mean?
And not as cool as their grandma either.
Oh, no, of course not. But that child would make a fabulous worker, carer, in that kind of profession. But unless that child gets to A-levels and university, they're probably never going to get there. And, we've seen this in hospitals. Everybody's got to have a university education and all the rest of it. But what we actually want is people who will be kind to the patient.